Hello everybody, welcome back to another video for the day. Now we're going back into r/neckbeard stories because you guys seem to like those cringy, lovely storytime format videos. And just want to let you know, heads up, we're getting close to that 30,000 subscriber milestone. So if you want to be absolutely amazing and have an impact in the actual effort to get to that milestone, be sure to slam that subscribe button. Let's go. Our first story comes to us from username LilaNerd. Forming an unhealthy attachment to a neckbeard. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. This isn't a normal neckbeard story. This guy never crushed on me or anything, which I find kinda common in stories like this. No, this was a lonely freshman being attached to a sophomore. What was normal was how he looked. Overweight, neckbeard, kinda smelled, super pimply, never had a fedora or anything. I met this guy when I befriended his brother, a kid in my grade. Some context, I don't go to the school most kids from my town do. I go to a technical school that sets you up to go straight into the workforce. Veterinary science for me. None of my friends got in, so I was horribly alone that year. I was pretty mean to most people who I deemed as bad, stereotypical popular kids. The freshman's friends, whom we'll call FK, was on my bus and in my group as we did a trial of all the programs the school had to offer. I sat with him and his two friends. The brother NB and his junior JF. NB was the neckbeard, of course. FK was an artist like me, although he did traditional. NB introduced me to digital art, what I do now. Looking at his recent art on the UT Amino, it gives me a shameful boost of confidence when I see it. It feels weird and mean, but his art hasn't improved since then, and mine definitely has. I don't feel too good about thinking that way though. Anyway, these people were pretty awesome. They were one of the last 10 stops on the bus. I was in the dead last stop. We had fun talking, but I expressed that a lot of the time I'm not awake enough for conversation in the morning, and after school, I may just want to be alone and not talk often. They just didn't get it. Once JF pulled him off my seat because, quote, "I thought you died." I was not too happy and explained once again that if I'm sleeping, leave me be. It wasn't even near either of our stops, so there was no reason to wake me up. I went over to NB and FK's house once, and NB had a total neckbeard's nest with a bunch of Pokemon posters everywhere. I knew he was into Pokemon like me. He gave me an Alolan Vulpix card for my birthday once, and at some point a GX or EX Gardevoir with a fancy sleeve, both of which I keep in my wallet because of spite. As my freshman year went on and I isolated myself from everyone but them, I grew emotionally attached to NB, especially because we had two most similar senses of humor, and I looked up to him a lot. However, he started to straight up ignore me. When I talked to him sometimes, he'd ask FK, "Is that a thought I hear?" and then not answer me when I kept talking to him. This was before I knew what thought meant, and thought that he meant thought, so I didn't get angry. I know I have a temper and would have yelled at him if I knew what he was doing. It escalated to one morning when I asked my stepmom, who didn't have to go to work that morning, for a ride to school. She asked why I didn't just take the bus, and I told her it was because my friends had started to ignore me. She said she would if I texted them and asked why, and that it would be a one-time thing. I did and asked, and it started. He told me straight up that he just couldn't be friends with someone who had such a temper, referring to the times he'd forcefully crack my fingers when he knew I hated the feeling and the sound, when he would wake me up or insist on me taking off my headphones after telling him I didn't want to talk to anyone and just wanted to be alone on the bus, or when he would ignore me and I got a bit mad. He said that he and JF had straight up talked about me behind my back about how much they hated me. I was crying a bit, but of course I didn't tell him. I told him I wasn't going to be his friend anymore and asked if FK had also taken part in this. He said his brother hadn't. I was relieved, but I didn't think I could be friends with FK because I'd have to be around his brother. I stopped talking to all of them. I'm glad I did because I learned that this past school year he tried to sleep with a middle schooler. There was initially another girl in the group, OF, who was in my grade and left because she had a big fight with NB. I never asked for details and I can't anymore for reasons I don't want to mention. I should have taken the out when she offered one and told me not to stick around them. I spent the rest of my freshman year sitting in the very front of the bus, away from them in the middle section. I occasionally chat with FK now. We're both about to be seniors. Never talked with NB, but I see him around occasionally occasionally. I haven't been on the bus since freshman year, although I am on the bus with OJ, who is another friend of theirs who didn't play a role in this story. He's still friends with them, but he's super nice. I've forgiven him for the things he never did. I found better friends, both in the veterinary science program with me. I reconnected with my friends from middle school, although our friend group is slowly falling apart now, but that's a different story. NB has left me with some issues. This past Christmas, my boyfriend said he was leaving the friend group for a month and just vanished from all social media. I freaked, reminded of NB, who was a person I relied upon a lot and basically needed like my boyfriend, and I was not okay. It's hard to explain, and it's something I'm trying to be better with. Being more independent, not freaking when someone starts to ignore me without giving me an explanation. I found that with some explanation from the person about why they're taking a break / not talking, I'm okay. A friend recently left my online group and blocked us all, and started to freak out while at work. Once we got an explanation from him that isn't relevant, and I knew it wasn't because he hated us, or me specifically like I had feared, I was okay. Still mad he just ditched, but okay. NB was the worst friend of my life, but I've learned a lot from him. Someone who doesn't care about your personal space shouldn't be your friend. Someone who manipulates and ignores you like NB did to me shouldn't be your friend. I'm glad his graduation was ruined by the virus going around, even if the virus also affected my sister's graduation. I hope you guys can learn from this. I've been debating posting this for months once I learned of the sub, but today I finally joined and wrote this up while listening to Reddit neckbeard videos. To any YouTubers who may pick this up, feel free to put this on your channels. I'm okay with that. I'm going to go back to being in pain thanks to my wisdom teeth removal, lol, ciao. Jeez, hope you feel better. Edit, he and the rest of the group would also occasionally make fun of my sexuality. To my knowledge, they were all straight and I was pan. Nothing major, just the "so you're into pans" joke that I got from other people, although it was admittedly more often than anyone else made the joke. This mainly came from NB and JF. No, only them. FK was good with that. He was a pretty quiet person. As hidden memories come to mind, I'll keep adding them. I added one in the comments too. Fun side story. I've been a part of this roleplay group in Amiibo. Back then, we were still using our first roleplay. It was a classic anime school roleplay with its own special magic system. I decided to bring NB into this roleplay group, which was a massive mistake. He started a movement in the group, about 100 members in that amino if I remember correctly. This was 3 years ago or so, and tried to overthrow the moderators because they were too strict. From what I remember, he never roleplayed and just talked out of character. His movement was about lessening the magic rules, making it basically a free-for-all for OP people to take advantage of. This place was kinda like a bunch of mini D&D sessions with the teacher of the class rolling for everyone, or maybe people roll for themselves, I forget, and with 3 different schools, each of the different levels, aka classes. In the magic course which I was in, people had their own grimoires where they had to make their own spells, which were then checked by a teacher, easily taken advantage of. It wasn't even that strict like it is in our new roleplay. He eventually got kicked, but only after rallying all the new members in a riot. I almost left the roleplay group, which I'm glad I didn't because that online group of friends I formed has gotten me through a lot these past years, especially my boyfriend. But yeah, that's my mini story about this guy. If I was still in the community, I'd go find some more concrete stuff and quotes, but this was 3 years ago, and even though the community is still up, it's on private. Essentially, this guy was an overthrow the government kind of dude, and this was the first time I really got that this is a guy I didn't want to be friends with. JF also stole my hate at one point because it was an anime hat, a spray paint with Melodious tattoo. These are things that came to mind as I was thinking back on this and thought might be fun. Thanks for reading my rambling. Ciao. Our next story comes to us from username DaddyIssues666, Legbeard coworker. This is mostly just a simple list of interactions I have had with this Legbeard over the 3.5 years that I worked with her, and they're all worthy of sharing. I'm no stranger to neckbeards, and I've dealt with them a lot in my high school years, but this is the only interaction I can think of having with a Legbeard. I work in food service, and in this industry, meeting a weirdo coworker is inevitable. I will make clear now that she is a generally kind person. She's just a lot. I've heard about this girl from a relative of mine that worked at the same restaurant before I started there, so I went in already knowing she was a handful. My initial impression, of course, was that she wasn't too bad. Keyword initial. I learned pretty quickly within the first few hours of working side by side with her that she is obsessed with anime and everything else Japanese. She proudly proclaimed herself as a weeaboo. When she met my friend, also an anime fan, she squealed out, "Are you an otaku like me?" For those of you not familiar with the term, it's used to describe someone with an unhealthy obsession, not something you want to be called. Now, I'm used to otakus and weeaboos. They made up a large amount of the people I knew in my early high school years, but this girl took it a step further. She was the girl casually wearing Japanese traditional clothing and using the most basic Japanese phrases and words on coworkers and to the poor, unsuspecting public. And by simple, I mean oh kawaii, gomen, konnichiwa, nani on a loop. She's the girl approaching the culture/language and making no effort in actually trying to learn about it. Some of my favorite smaller instances involving her were her proudly telling coworkers that she is a conservative hippie, doesn't shave down below at all, which explained her smell, and that she believes she knows how businesses work since she runs garage sales. She also enjoyed sharing how she believes firmly that she is a Viking that only eats what she hunts, despite regularly eating at the restaurant, and believes the Statue of Liberty is simply on an underwater boat and can be moved wherever. ADHD, ADD is not a real thing, and kids are just bored because teachers just teach the exact same things over and over. She doesn't trust doctors cause they're only in it for the paycheck, etc. Crackpot conspiracy theories were her specialty. Now back to her foreign languages. She believes she's a pro at different languages: Japanese, German, English, Spanish, etc. One day, another coworker and I were trying to remember how to count in French. Don't ask me why, we were bored. She just so happened to hear me say, "I can't count in French, but I can count in Korean." Korean isn't hard to count in, whether it's in Sino-Korean or Native Korean. When she hears my statement, she announces that she too can count in Korean and blurts out, or attempts to, numbers 1 through 5. This girl butchered the pronunciation, sloshing it all together. To anyone who didn't know what she was going for, they'd assume that she was drowning in her own spit. Now, my Korean isn't perfect, but the pronunciation of 1 to 5 is pretty easy. Me, being the butthole I am, turned around with a sharp, "Not even freaking close." She sunk back with a muttered, "Well, that's how I learned," and walked away. I know I could have been nicer, but I had worked with her for 2 years by then, and my patience with her self-righteousness was at an all-time low. In another instance, she attempted to speak Spanish to a group of Hispanic guys that walked into our restaurant. Now, this doesn't sound too bad right off the bat, but these poor men didn't speak Spanish. She went solely on the assumption that they do because of their appearance. I gave them a horrified look followed by a mouthed apology. Why did she try saying that to them? "Hello, my name's blank," followed by nonsense. Even if they were Spanish speakers, they'd be at a loss for words. I'm not sure where her false sense of confidence in linguistics came from, but holy heck, she was a mess. Small shot like this happened often. Attempted to speak Spanish with Hispanic customers, German, Dutch with our Amish customers, and speaking Japanese with anyone who stood too close to her. But my last real interaction with her happened Christmas of 2018. She was moved to night shift due to her boyfriend's schedule, as well as our general manager no longer being able to tolerate her, so I didn't see her often. When Christmas came around, we had planned a store get-together on Christmas Eve after the store closed. I didn't plan on showing up, but when the amount of employees that showed up was a measly 3, I felt bad. Yes, just like the Grinch, my heart grew 3 sizes that day, and I decided to join in on the festivities. My assistant general manager was one of the employees that had showed up ready to party, so I texted her and told her to bring everyone to my house. My roommate was going to a family gathering, so it'd just be the 4 of us hanging out and playing games. We decided on Cards Against Humanity, and written on the white cards by me and a few other coworkers were inside jokes about, you guessed it, Legbeard. I rushed through the deck to pull all of them out, pushing it off as it's inside jokes, so there's no point in having them in there. I didn't want to risk her understanding and having our holiday ruined again that night. After a few hours, everyone except Legbeard had left, and we ended up talking about K-pop, a great love of mine, sorry not sorry. It was just about the only common interest we had, so we watched a few videos, and when we got to the BTS videos, it went downhill. There's a member named Park Jimin who is so soft, pretty, and squishy, excuse my happy showing. He makes even straight men melt. The second she sees him, she erupts in squeals and awes and starts yelling kawaii at the screen. To this day, I don't know how I resisted the urge to slap the dog shot out of her for that loud, unnecessary bullshot, cause it enrages me to this day. No amount of anger management or therapy can prepare you for a 30-year-old woman throwing herself onto your bench, kicking, flailing her arms, and squealing over a pretty boy singer 7 years younger than her. You can like/be attracted to a singer, that's normal, but whatever the heck that stuff was is not okay coming from a grown person in my book. I was nice though. As much as I would have enjoyed taking her out for that extra stuff, I was nice. Let me tell you, her quitting was a big relief simply because I don't know how much more I could take. I still see her around at Walmart where she works or at the restaurant where she gets food. She looks better than she used to, and like I said, she is a good person. I just can't handle the Legbeard behavior. And with that, that is going to have to be it with the video. If you would like to be absolutely amazing and support her, be sure to slam the like button, comment down below what you liked about the video, and if you have not already, subscribe to the channel. I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.